I feel like, you know, every video has like, there's a part that when you watch it the first time that has the hardest hit, you know, like the best song, the most like flashy editing, whatever. Ricky's was that part of Eastern Exposure 3 that did that. You know, his was like the single, you know, you could have released that and it would have sold the whole video. Ricky's captured that blue collar, you know, like street skating vibe, and that I think everybody, you know, everybody on the East Coast, not just identified with, but it just empowered everybody.
I mean, to me, like, you know, the Rick part is the Eastern Exposure part. Even like a girl video where like the dudes are so sick, but you know, they're like skating in like Vancouver, and then like you see Rick and he's like mashing around the streets, like riding up like people's houses, and like it was just really interesting. Plus it was in black and white. So, and then that Metallica song, you get so psyched. Like I would I would skate around like my home, like, you know, some little southern town, and like I would just skate around like thinking I was like in a big city, just like skating through traffic and shit.
It's like when you're a kid, you're like, oh shit. You like want to go to Philly. You know, you want to, and you would go to Philly and you would see it in person because that's what he did every day. He skated like that every day.
You know, you go right down there to the underground, and that was such a sick spot. Look how smooth it is, though. It was always fun. And you got a little downhill, you get to blaze down this thing. And, you know, just recently that dude board slid out there. That thing's huge. I always dreamt that you could do like a blunt slide and just the fakie, but you know, I mean, I'm a pussy. I thought of this shit, but I never did it. I mean, I just ollied over it.
I think it was the start of my career, and it wasn't necessarily the start of his career because he was already skating so good for so long, but I think it was the first time that a lot of people saw how good he was. I think since I lived in Philly, I got the most footage with Rick, and he was super motivated, so it became clear pretty early on that he was going to have less part. I mean, he had already been in that one Spitfire video, and a lot of people, I think, had a clue that he was sick, but there just wasn't a lot of footage in that Spitfire video. I don't think they saw, like, the full scope of Rick, you know? I think maybe that's what that video part kind of did, was just show, like, how he really skated and all the things he skated, I guess.
All that other stuff was over there. But they changed all this. The gold railings are different.
You know, people were excited about like World Industries videos, and then
everything.
And then all of a sudden it was the Eastern Exposure videos, and everyone in all of skating, probably all over the world, watched those videos.
Honestly, I think it's the first and only time it's ever happened where the East Coast setting the pace from the West Coast, especially the West Coast, versus all over the world. I don't think that's ever happened. You know what I mean? You know, we had bigger wheels. We just skated a different way. Like I said, like we weren't just skating to a place. It's such a basic thought. I just still don't get it. But we skated everything that was in our way. And you know, because there was things like, you know, we had tons of bump over bars in Philadelphia. You know what I mean? We had a joke that like you go to North Philly, which is really gnarly. You know, these dudes were shooting each other. So every new day, some new fucking crippled has to build a new bump over bar, and just so happened that we could skate it. So there was always new shit to find, always. It was just a joke, you know what I mean, as far as that type of an obstacle goes.
Nowadays, it seems a lot of the times like the skater expects the filmer to do everything. Take me to the spot, fix it for me, and then I'll think of a trick, you know? I feel like I want to film. The skater's like the creative person. They should take you where they want to go and do the tricks they want to do. And Ricky was like, I never had to do anything except just concentrate on keeping up with him and trying to film it good because he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and that was kind of cool. I mean, yeah, it was tiring, but it was fun. When I'm having fun filming, I feel like the footage is going to be better because it doesn't feel like work. It's fun.
My name's Ricky Oyola. I'm going to beat this goddamn street cleaner. City Hall seems to be a new hotspot since Love Park is banned. God! It's a little hard. I forget to talk and stuff. It's a little weird. I want to be able to do it though. Pretty rad. It's got a lot of walls. A lot of fucking shit. All right, Dan. Today sucks. This dude's an asshole in front of me. Gotta go by him.
I have love for Dan, for sure. I really do. But, you know, we were like all drunk one day, and if he could skate like anybody, he would skate like Reese. They were really close, and they got closer during filming. So, you know, they wanted to go to California, and that's kind of how that all started, and they got opportunities. I was going to be on Zoo forever. I would have dealt with the struggles, pretty stubborn. But I got Matt and Serge. Serge was actually on before Matt. Matt wrote for Adrenaline. So then I got him on Zoo. They didn't show respect to Matt and Serge. They did to me, but not to Matt and Serge. And I always thought that they just never thought I would ever leave. Because I mean, I did a lot for Zoo. When all those New York dudes were all quitting to ride for other shit before they'd come back, you know, I did a lot for Robbie Gangemi did a lot for Zoo too. He was getting kind of bummed at Zoo for not being able to do it for them. They're awesome dude, you know what I mean? Just, it was time to move on. Then came Illuminati. This one in particular is my Tony Hawk signature.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, fuck, this thing, I'm never gonna get rid of this thing. This is such an incredible thing right here. You know, I was like, look, man, we're gonna leave. You know, they've been talking about a second brand. Let's give us a second brand and let me, Matt, and Serge, the Philly clique, do our thing, because we're getting shit done. Eli had this idea of Illuminati that he was so psyched on. They were all so psyched on it. They thought there was going to be the next Alien Workshop. And so we got into it, started getting all these books, man. I started collecting books left and right. I was like, dude, people are going to ask us questions. We're doing demos, people are going to ask me questions. Like, I need to know something about this stuff. So we all dived into it. For the first 6 months of the 8 months it was around, it was a sticker, basically. You know, I mean, we still wrote Zoo boards, you know, we were getting psyched, stickers, you know, that's all we had. Then they're like, you know, can't do Illuminati because there's a naming rights problem in the Midwest. So you can never really do clothing or anything like that. So, poof, it was done. I wrote for Nicotine, was going to do First Division wheels with Mike at ECU. So we basically going to do our own board company. That was going to be, you know, mine, but ours, but realistically Mike's, because he's the money guy, and we would get percentage off. So we just moved camp over there. I was on my way to Australia for my first visit, and I basically said to Matt and Serge that they can come up with a name for Silver Star. And I was there for, I don't know how long I was there, man, in the beginning, first week or two, and I get this call like 5 in the morning, Australian time. I'm sleeping, and I'm like, it's Mike. He's about to do ads. We need a name right then, right now, for our board company. And it's like, really? These dudes can't give you a goddamn name? They couldn't come up with something? You know, and I've been reading these books, and I was like, well, look, man, I like this name. You know what I mean? I said, dude, Aleister Crowley, and, you know, he used to refer to Illuminati as the Order of the Silver Star. I'm like, I think Silver Star is a rad name. You know, we got people involved. We had a vert skater, Jesse Fritsch, and we had First Division wheels that had Donnie Barley, Brian Anderson. Rad shit going on. It was like Jamie started Zero and Ed started Toy Machine. This was like Silver Star and First Division. I had my own stuff. I was really East Coast. I mean, I quit Spitfire to ride for Nicotine because it was East Coast. And I started wanting to create our own type of things like that. I've always wanted to have my own deluxe out east. In the background, I only had percentage of profits. It wasn't my company. You know what I mean? I didn't think that this dude was going to have a problem gambling, lose it all, and it just goes gone. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there with like no names, nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I totally got it because I felt the same way. California was always like this, you know, that's where 8th Street started. That's what you kind of think as a kid. And then the first couple times I went out to Southern California, I was like, this sucks. And just sitting in a car all day was frustrating, you know. I felt like I'd get so much more done on the East Coast. I think Rick knew that because he'd already been to California a bunch, and I think he wanted to make a place where future generations that felt the same way didn't have to travel to California to make it.
You know, and then when Silver Star was done, I talked to a couple brands to do Silver Star through them. Matter of fact, Dan Wolfe called me to do it at a Giant. They only wanted KT, myself, and Jake Rupp. So that means I would have had to say fuck you to Matt, Serge, Jesse, Andrew, Greg Harris. I mean, all these dudes, let alone all the Capital dudes that were going to get fucked out of it, you know what I mean? So I couldn't do it. And I was mad at fucking Dan, because Dan knew me well enough. How dare he ask me that? You know, I might regret it now, to tell you the truth, because I mean, these dudes, none of them were skating. They weren't really part of the mission that I was truly on. So that ended kind of like a chapter that could have changed my whole future life of skating.
You said in an interview once that if you weren't riding for Zoo, that you'd want to ride for either Plan B or Consolidated.
Consolidated, I was friends with Karma and Jesse and those dudes, and I always kind of related myself to those guys for whatever reason. And Plan B is just, you know, Plan B. I mean, Mike Carroll, I mean, Jesus, Rick Howard. These, I mean, I don't skate nothing like those, but they were always just like some of my favorite skaters.
Yeah.
I had a lot of different favorite skaters for different reasons.